Hello students. Today we're talking about triangle properties. So, properties, that's a fancy word for like a quality or a characteristic of something. So we're going to be talking about qualities of triangles that help us find missing measures of angles and sides. Because those are what we have on a triangle, angles and sides, and that's what we measure. So, and I apologize, my pen is broken, and so I'm using my finger. That's why my handwriting is so rough. Please, if you're struggling with my handwriting, listen to what I'm saying, not look at what I'm writing. Okay? First thing we need to do is we need to be able to classify the triangles. We classify them by both sides and angles. When we're talking about sides, we care about how many are equal. We'll just put equal. Scalene is when no sides are equal. So that means all my sides are different lengths. When we have two sides that are equal, we call that isosceles. Typically looks like this, where we got two markings that are the same and one is different, or two sides are the same number and one's different. An equilateral is all three sides are equal. So if this side is 5, then this side's 5, and this side's 5. Or they would all have the same marking. Okay, that's sides. By angles. If I'm talking about angles, I care about where we are with respect to 90 degrees, because remember, 90 degrees is a right triangle. That is our most special triangle. So we care about less than, equal to, or bigger than 90. When all the interior angles are less than 90, we call it acute. And that's usually our more stereotypical looking triangle, what we're used to. All my angles are cute and tiny. A right triangle is when one angle is exactly 90. The side opposite the 90 is our hypotenuse, which is also our longest leg. And we'll see it quite a bit on the homework today, so I'm going to make sure I emphasize it here. The symbol we use for the 90-degree angle is a little little square. So when you have a little square, you should think that means 90. Okay? And then the side opposite is our hypotenuse. Okay? So that's smaller than 90 equals 90. Obtuse is when one angle is bigger than 90. So those are usually our really weird looking triangles where they're big and we've got this one angle right here that's huge. So when we have one angle that is big, then it is obtuse. This is what your homework looks like. You'll notice that we're being asked isosceles obtuse. Okay, it's going to ask you for both the side and the angle classification at once. So we need to look at each triangle and we need to ask ourselves how many sides are equal. There's 2, so I know that it's going to be one of my isosceles ones. And then I'm going to ask myself, well, how many angles do I have any angles bigger than or equal to 90? Or are they all smaller than 90? And I'm looking and I see all those numbers are smaller than 90. So that would be acute. One more time. Notice 4.52 shows up twice. So 2 of my sides are equal. That means isosceles again. But this time I see a 104 in a corner. When I have a number bigger than 90, whoop, That is called obtuse. Okay, let's cross those out. So that's the first section of your homework, classifying the triangles, knowing what they look like, okay? Second section is the triangle interior angle sum property. This property, so here's our first quality of a triangle. This is something that happens with all triangles that is awesome, okay? All three interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Doesn't matter what type of triangle it is, but because of this, we can use this to solve for variables or solve for a missing angle. So here's how it goes. I know that all of those angles add up to 180. So I'm going to do 5x minus 17 plus, because I'm adding them all up, 56 plus 7x minus 3. And they all add up to 180. From here, I can solve for x. Okay? So combining like terms, 5x plus 7x is 12x. And then I see these are all numbers without an x. So we're going to do 56, we're going to do negative 17 plus 56 minus 3. If you put that in your calculator, you'll get 36 equals 180. And then from here, this should look like our normal solve for x problems, which is kind of nice. I'm going to add 36 to both sides. Or no, that should be added already. My bad. That should be a positive 36. So I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. My bad. And I'm going to do 12x equals 144 when I plug this into my calculator. And now I'm going to divide by 12. X equals 12. That's awesome. Okay. Thing is, Delta Math can ask you a couple different things. So we're going to focus on this triangle here, and we're going to answer all three things Delta Math can ask you. The first thing is it will ask you to solve for x. That's great. We just did that. The answer is 12. It can also ask you for the smallest angle. Or it can ask you for the largest angle. Okay. Now, I've got 5x minus 17 and 7x minus 3 is my angles in 56. I can't tell with x's in there which one's biggest, which one's smallest. I could probably take a good guess, but more than that, I don't know what the angle measure actually is. So I need to take that 12 that I found, and I need to plug it back in to where x is. When the numbers are directly next to each other like this, that's multiplying. So that's 5 times 12 minus 17, which equals 43. And that is 7 times 12 minus 3, which would be 81. So if it was asking you for the smallest angle, you would be like, oh, I'm going to put 43 in the box. If it's asking you for the largest angle, you would put 81 in the box. And if it's asking you just to solve for x, we already did that. It's 12. Okay, so those are the three things that Delta Math can ask you on that second section of your homework. Let's flip the page. The isosceles triangle property. So that was the triangle sum property that was adding everything up to 180. Now it's specifically about isosceles triangles. Remember, isosceles was when two sides were equal. Okay, if two sides of the triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are also congruent. So if these two sides are congruent, then these two angles are congruent, and vice versa. These two angles are congruent, these two sides are congruent, because they are considered opposite. So notice this angle is furthest away from this side, and vice versa. we should always make a little X like this to get to my angles and sides. So your homework can present in two different ways. First way is fun and easy. Find the measure of W to X. I know that these two sides are the same because they have the same marking, which means I know that these two sides are the same. So if I'm looking for W to X, no math required, I know that it's 27 because this side was 27. And these two angles right here were matching. Last way can require just a little bit of math. Find the measure of angle EFD. So remember, the letter in the middle is the letter I care about. I am looking for angle F. And I don't know what it is, but I do know that angle F and angle D are going to be the same. So I know that it's going to be 88 plus F plus D equals 180. And from there, I can solve. So notice I added in my triangle sum property. Equals 92. Remember, F and D were the same thing. So I can just say like 2F instead of F and D because I know that they're the same and there's two of them. And from here, I'm going to divide by 2. So I know that angle F is going to be 46 degrees. Okay, so that's all 3 sections of your homework. Email me if you have any questions. Thank you.